Oh, hi, Annelize. Thank you so much for joining me. I know you're a busy lady, and so I wonder if we could just, have a chat and just talk about all the sort of myths and the challenges and how we feel, through this whole going into the menopause. So for me, it's like, how do you even know? So you start to get really hot, and you find your mood swings going in odd directions. You get this brain fog, which I really get. So help me out. How do I know I'm even there?
Well, Carolyn, it mainly starts with symptoms, and you've pointed out a number of key symptoms, and then it starts with having a conversation really with someone who, either a practitioner who specializes in the menopause, and doing some blood tests often that will help guiding us in the right direction.
Fantastic. So who do I go? Do I go and see my GP, or where do I start?
Well, we've got our GPs, and it's always wonderful to have a good relationship with them. So that will be the first port of call, and really they should be able to offer some help and guidance. And if you don't get help, the right guidance with your NHS GP, there are other doctors really throughout the country that specializes in menopause and are dedicated, often private service, and plus there's such a lot of help online now. We know the Davina McCall, there's such a push for women and drive to get them empowered, really.
Yeah, Davina's doing a great job getting the message out there, isn't she? Yeah, she really is. And I think there's the fear of HRT. And I think that's probably, even a challenge for myself. It's that fear of, are we just, if we take our HRT, are we just kicking the can down the road and it's going to come and, get us later? Or even, one of my fears is breast cancer. And you hear so much about that. And I think it's just all these myths about what's right and what's wrong. So how can you help me with that?
Well, we did, as you rightly pointed out, there was the old thought pattern, and that if you start HRT, you can only be on it for about 5 years. Then you need to come off. And if you come off, you're going to have all your menopause symptoms back. We now know that those symptoms, we've got a set period, say about 10 years after your last period, where you can have these symptoms. And if you stop your HRT before the natural stop of those symptoms, yes, they will come back, but it's not due to the hormones. And but we also know that NICE guidelines now say you can carry on HRT forever, really, as long as you have a informed decision with your practitioner. So whoever you follow as a doctor, mostly, and there are good nurse practitioners also. But to have that discussion to say, look, these are your risks. Are you increasing your risks? And what is the best for you? Because it's a personal decision in the end, but we can absolutely continue with it forever if you want it.
Yeah. And what about the breast cancer connection? Because that's one of the fears I hear from my clients often, that's one of the fears that really kind of holds them back.
Yes, well, breast cancer is a concern for all women because we have our natural risk of breast cancer just by having breasts. Things we can do to reduce that risk naturally is reduce our body fat, because that's a main risk indicator, and exercise and reduce stress. Now, if we can all do that, then we naturally reduce our risk. Estrogen alone therapy, we now can see through evidence, harbors no increased risk if you don't have, on its own, just by estrogen alone therapy. So it's about lifestyle, and we're talking about postmenopausal breast cancer risk. These are not linked to the BRCA genes. These are linked to lifestyle factors. And often I hear from my patients, well, my mom had breast cancer after the menopause. Well, yes, but then if you dive a little bit further into the history, they will say, well, my mom had a really poor lifestyle. And, she did all the things she shouldn't have done. And those things do link in, and that's where epigenetics comes in. So it's good if we have an idea of what our epigenetics are, and these are genetics that are influenced by what we eat, what we do, exercise, as I've pointed out, and body fat.
Excellent. Well, that's great. You've given me some great advice there. And what about any supplements? Is there anything we can help ourselves with?
Well, we know that a good diet is number one, and for some of us, a good diet is really even so much more important. So by eating your greens, that naturally helps to guide the toxic estrogens in the right pathway. So greens, yeah, like we were told when we grew up, is really top. Magnesium is wonderful because it also helps with the detoxification process, and it helps us relax. Other supplements is omega-3 that really helps also. Melatonin has been shown to support as an antioxidant that supports protection against cancer on a whole. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm so grateful for you just spending this time with me today, and thank you very much for your time today, and for coming to our Well Women events and talking to our customers. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. It's wonderful to be able to share the message.